Okay, so good morning. Thank you so much for joining us today for our Results Day 2020 webinar, which will be led by James Barton, who is our Director of Admissions and Recruitment at MPW London. So thank you for joining us. We hope this session will help you with the impending results days that are coming up next week and the week after. So over to you, James. Thank you.
Thanks, Betty. Can you hear me?
Yes.
And can you see me?
Yes.
Then all good. Super. Morning all. We are probably, what are we now? We're just under 1 week out from the big day next Thursday. And the whole idea of today is just to do a little bit of training on something you may or may not have got experience of already. But even if you do, just to really put the meat on the bones as to what it might look like this year in what will be quite an exceptional year. I, as most people will well know, welcome questions all the way through. So please do use the message chat or even unmute your microphone and come on and have a conversation. These work so much better as question and answer sessions, because really the idea behind any of these sessions is just to give you the answers that you might be looking for. So with that in mind, before even starting out, can I just ask people, just as anyone who feels bold enough, what are you looking to actually get from today? What sort of questions stump you most about results day? Are there any concerns that you have? Are there any parts of the process that you're not sure of? What sort of major questions do you actually have about results day itself? Does anyone feel like they can answer that for me to start with?
James, I'll just let everybody know that you can unmute your mics. You're more than welcome to unmute your mics, or please do use the chat box that you'll find in the middle of the screen. So either option is fine.
Absolutely, either which way, but it's always nice to actually to hear from people as well. Tatiana, how to contact the universities this year? Because we used to advise students to call admissions directly. Jolly good. And we will absolutely do that, and Alina, the clearance process in general. What I'm just gauging from these sort of questions so far is where I can feed them into the session. So Tatiana, I will answer that as we go along. I mean, one thing that should be said from the outset is this is probably my 15th year doing clearing, and in all 15 of those years, it doesn't ever really change. And this year isn't going to be so exceptional that it is any different from previous years. There are slight quirks, there are slight differences, there are slight nuances and developments, but nothing should go so demonstrably wrong. And Betty, UCAS Extra. UCAS Extra, just to put in there from the outset now, UCAS Extra is almost a spent force now. It's been running since about March time. You move into different systems when you come into the August results series, and we'll look at all of these. One of them is called Adjustment. One of them is obviously called Clearing, and new for 2020, we have Clearing Plus as well. So we've got some differences in there as well. So great. So we've got a few things to start off with. What I'd like you to do, just because I like to start any session this way, Tatiana, do you expect a lot of appeals to take place? Yes, undoubtedly, and I will be touching on that in moments' time. But what I want you to do, just to start with for me here, because it's always a nice way of bringing your audience in. Will you just have a quick look at this? Very quickly, I just want you to solve this puzzle, removing 6 numbers to make the remaining add up to 20. I always like, I'll talk at you at the same time while you solve this. I always like using these things at the start of any of my presentations, as most people know, is because one, it brings your audience in. It allows you to actually warm up and start asking questions. And two, it's because there's always a more simple explanation to a more difficult problem. And it's the same for clearing, and it's the same for results, and it's the same for most things, but particularly for this presentation, it rather identifies the fact that while something might look overly complicated, there is always a more simple answer if you know what it is. So if you can do it, solve the puzzle, remove 6 numbers to add up to 20. Have any of you managed to do that for me nicely? Simon, Andy, welcome morning. Just starting off here really from the outset and warming people up. Can anyone offer me an answer? So last point on it, you've got to remove 6 and then the remaining 3 need to add up to 20. Remember, what I'm trying to say here is it's a more complicated looking problem with a much simpler answer. Okay, in the spirit of what the purpose of all of this is, it's to bring in the audience and to actually allow you to actually join into the conversation track. I will give you the answer so we can move nicely forward. The answer is a nice simple. If you take away one of the ones, all of the sevens and two of the nines, then it's a cheap trick, but you get there. And clearing is not a trick, but there is an art to doing it. And there's always a more simple way of getting through it. Okay. So we've used the basics. Now I want to treat you a little bit like a student from the outset. What I'd like you to do is to write down the course that you ideally want to or did study at university. Just play the game for a minute. Just imagine you're a student. And I would like you to write down the 2 universities that you wanted to study at. And let's assume that you got 2 places. One was a firm acceptance offer and one was your insurance offer from there. Okay. So the course and 2 universities. If you are a student on this conversation, then you might already have this as what you're doing already. Okay. Once you've done that, what I then want you to do is, let's assume that you didn't get your offer at either of those because for one reason or another, you missed your grades on results day. I'd now like you to have a look at this list and choose 4 universities that you would be happy to study at. And if you can't think of 4, don't put 4, just put down as many as you would want to do. But up to 4 that you'd want to study at from this rather lengthy list of universities. Okay, I'll give you a quick chance to scan through that particular list. And hopefully you've got a few that you might want to look at. Now just put that to the one side and we will revisit that shortly. So it's this year, it's the COVID year. So let's look at the COVID context to how this one's actually going to look. As we all know, everything's changed an awful lot this year. The exams were cancelled. So all grades are now for A-levels, and we are really just dealing with A-levels at this moment in time, but we can answer questions on IB as well. But from the A-level perspective, all grades are going to be made based on assessed grades, which means that the teaching staff at all schools were given the responsibility of predicting the final outcome of their students' grades this year, but based upon performance markers, based upon mock exams, and based on a body of work throughout the course of their studies. Now, the IB grades, as we all know, if you've read the news, have come out, and there was a global outcry as a lot of very capable students were failed by the IB algorithm that reduced where they should have been to where they are now. And there was a huge petition, which a short while ago had 50,000 signatures and probably has many more by now, of trying to look at some sort of remarking process on that, because indeed a lot of people who were capable, who did fail on the IB grades, did not get their university offers this year. And that is really important to note at this stage, because what it shows us, even before we go into the A-level results day, is that it is not a buyer's market in the way that some predicted it would be. It is still very much a seller's market at the top end. So we are already expecting something similar on the A-level results day. The Scottish university grades came out recently, and again, they were up, but they also did fail students who were very capable and should have got higher. And so we are looking at something vaguely similar on the A-level results this year. No one accurately knows, but what Ofqual is rather suggesting is that A-level predictions will be about 2% up this year on what they were last year. That said, if the centre assessed grades were not actually moderated by the exam boards, they would have been 10% up. So all in all, they had to bring them down somehow. And if teachers had been left to do this themselves, then everybody would have been going to Oxbridge or the very top bracket of universities. So in a way, we are vaguely thankful for the exam boards themselves. So people are up. Worth noting that Ofqual have also said that a substantial number of students coming through the A-level system will be moderated down by at least 1 grade. Now, that shows us we're going to be quite busy in the clearing market this year. Whether universities make allowances, that's going to be what next week shows us, but at least we'll be ready for it. So COVID-19 has rather had a huge implication this year, as has Brexit. Both have fallen in exactly the same year. And so it is a tough marketplace to operate in. But interestingly, it does not seem that universities are falling over themselves to offer more places in the way that we first thought that they would. There does seem to be a huge amount of cautiousness and common sense being applied by universities. And it's not a question of if you drop dramatically on your grades, you will still be able to get a place at a top university. You're still going to have to be roughly in the right ballpark in order to be there. And that's what we would expect year on year. So that's what the IB results have shown us. That's what the Scottish results have shown us. And we'll likely find the same with the A levels next week. So it's difficult to accurately say what's going to happen, but it's not going to be that buyer's market. It should go hand in hand, though, that if you have a student who's worked well over the course of 2 years, they should do well in the exams. If it is a student who, roughly like most English students or most students in the English system, pull it out of the bag in the exams, having not quite worked all the way through 2 years, then they are likely to find themselves in clearing this year. And it's a shame because the English system, it benefits those who know how to pass it, and it's a value-added system as opposed to a build over time like the American system or something like that. So it could be a very interesting week next week, but that is what the COVID situation has rather done for us now. In terms of where we go from that, this is where we go on to now. Universities already know your results. Let's just point that out now. Okay, the universities know your results and they are still finding them out at this moment in time. So they are already planning. They already absolutely know. So if the universities already know your results, then it should go hand in hand that you should have a strategy and a backup plan being formed nicely at this moment in time. Just to interject here, if you have questions as we go along, please just keep feeding them through and we will keep answering them as we go. So if universities already know your results, what can we do at this stage? Well, what does the day actually look like first? Let's just give you your formal invite to your results day. You are cordially invited to your results day next Thursday, the 13th of August 2020. And results will be available from about 8 a.m. It differs slightly from school to school. Some like to go all out there and say, we'll give our students their results early. It doesn't necessarily give them a head start on results day, to be honest. It just gives them an hour or so just to get their head in gear. But results are available generally from about 8 a.m. And that is also when you can log on to your UCAS track to find out whether or not you've got in. UCAS track does not tell you your actual results themselves, but it will tell you whether you've been accepted onto your university place or not. So the first encouragement to anyone is log on to track first thing in the morning and just double check what it says there. If it says you've been accepted in, then you can probably take a little bit longer before finding out your results. If it says that you have not, then find out your results as soon as possible because you're going to have quite a busy day in front of you. If you've got your grades, you're off to university, hurrah, congratulations, and you might even be eligible for something called UCAS adjustment. We'll look at that in a second, but adjustment essentially is if you've done demonstrably better, so not just a little bit better, but much better than you were originally predicted, you are now eligible to apply for a slightly higher course at a slightly higher university. And you'll have a couple of weeks to have a look at that properly. The great thing about adjustment is you always have your offer in hand. You will never lose it. You can shop around a little bit. You can flirt with other universities, and then either you get a place or you don't, but you will always have your original place as well. If you did not get your grades, I'm sorry to hear that, you are now eligible for UCAS clearing. And look, don't be disheartened by clearing because an awful lot of people enter it, and there is an awful lot of things available in clearing. This will involve you being proactive. It will involve you working smart on the day. There's a slight misconception. People on results day think it's a first come, first served basis. In some ways it is, and in some ways it is not. You've got to have what the university wants. It's not just a question of being the first one to get through. And often they'll make a plethora of offers to people and then review it later on in the day as to whether they are still going to go forward with the offer. So you might get a positive noise from the university early on, and it might be reviewed again later. So it's just about being proactive and trying to get as many noises from them as possible. And when you enter into the clearing system on results day, You're not going to be talking to the head of admissions at UCL. You are going to be talking to a student that they hired in for that particular purpose, who is reading off the screen in front of them. So the first level of anything is you getting through to actually a computer system or a person at a computer system who will give you the basic functioning information that you actually require. And that is when the day actually starts. Okay, you will have lots of other conversations likely to follow. Clearing can take up to 3 days. If you don't get a firm offer on results day itself, don't panic. It can take up to 2-3 days for the better or the bigger universities to actually consider everything that they now have and then to make an offer from there or not. So some of it will be about sitting on your hands and sitting tight. Either which way, at the end of Thursday, you should be celebrating, or at least you should be having something that takes the edge off the day, but you should relax by the end of Thursday itself. Don't feel too shy, and this isn't a shameless pitch at all, but don't feel shy to look at resits either. You need to just balance what you're looking at for the following year. It's about what you want to do in your future. What are you going to be happy with? Are you just wanting to get to university, or does it matter more about going to a university that you're going to look back on in the future with a degree that you wanted to do and feel proud of your achievement? Well, if you're not going to get that through clearing, don't shy away from resits. And we won't dwell on that. We'll talk about it later, but it is something to remember. And then celebrate. Definitely celebrate. As soon as you get any sort of decision, celebrate, because it's been a tough year. Track. UCAS track updated. We said it's going to be updated around 8 a.m. on that Thursday itself. Track becomes available. It becomes frozen up until that particular point as universities and as UCAS update your page at the publication of your A-level results. So don't worry if you can't get on immediately. The system hasn't crashed. Often it's just a question that the system's just a little bit slow, but it will be available from 8 a.m. that day. You might get lucky and it might come up sooner. So the moment you wake up, just log in. And it's worth waiting to log in till after you've got your results. I mean, I'm telling people to do it beforehand. Other people like to do it afterwards, because we always like you to come in and get your results first. But it's a strange year, and most of the time the results can be emailed to people this year. Okay, at least if you were in the college, and we will be open if people want to come in. But at least if you're in your school or in our college or whatever, then we're there to help you deal with the clearing process and possibly any disappointment, or at least to shake your hand in a socially distanced way. To acknowledge your success. So what's it going to show? It's going to show a few things. It will show either unconditional, and unconditional now means that your firm or insurance choice, or both, have now been confirmed. So if you met the offer, your track will now update to say unconditional. Or the flip side of the coin is it will say unsuccessful. You've not now been accepted by your university and you're eligible to enter the clearing process itself. The other one is a slightly unique one. It's called the Unconditional Change Course, the UCC. And this meant that you did not get the offer, you did not get the grades for the offer that you were originally given, but the university still would like to offer you a place. And they'll now change your offer to a UCC, which means they've come up with a plan. They've come up with a similar course. It will require slightly lower grades. It might be an alternative start, maybe it's a deferred entry or something, but they've given you an offer with a condition accepted to it. And therefore, you've now got a UCC on there. It's up to you whether you take that. You are no longer obliged to take your unconditional offer if they have changed the course itself, because they've made a demonstrable change to the contract that they've put in place with you. Think about it. Think about it carefully. UCCs can be really interesting because ultimately you can redefine what you do when you're actually there by electing to take different modules in different ways. There's always a backdoor route, and this is what the UCC is. But if it is really not reflective of you, don't take it, because ultimately the dropout rate at universities from the first year is staggeringly high, particularly from those who have done the UCC route, because it is not what they wanted in the first place. What do you do if you meet your offer? We're still in positive territory here. Well, if you've met the offer requirements, it goes to unconditional. There's nothing you need to do. It will now become a firm acceptance naturally on track. You'll get a letter, a confirmation letter that will come through to you within 5 to 7 days. It's not going to be sent via email or in the post anymore. It will just be uploaded onto your track itself. So you don't actually have to do anything else. What you'll then find is universities bombard you with more information about start of term, accommodation, all these different things within there for that. Some universities might actually require further evidence, further action on your part. You'll have to give them evidence of your grades or something, but they will talk you through everything you need. But keep checking track over the course of the next 5 to 7 days, so a week really, just to make sure that you are answering anything, because we're no longer in a post or an email situation. It will all be done through track. If you use UCAS Extra, Betty, coming back to UCAS Extra from you, if you did that offer, everything is still exactly the same. You just need to accept it by the date that's displayed in track. So it's almost the same as having any other offer. You will also have the other option of adding another choice should you wish to decline your UCAS Extra choice. So you will be able to enter clearing naturally if you did not like your UCAS Extra place. You're not quite wedded to it in the same way as you would be if this was your first 5 offers. So if you did well, you did really well, you met your and exceeded your conditions for your firm choice, not just by a grade, but by a couple of grades. You might want to start looking at an alternative course, and you can use the UCAS adjustment service. You keep the offer that you have. Therefore, you can just be naturally curious and look at what's available. And as we said, just do a bit of window shopping, see if there's anything else, see if you want to reconsider where you want to study, what you want to study. You don't have to do anything, but you could potentially swap one course for another course if you felt one, it was better, one, it reflected you. And you have all the way from the 13th of August through to the 31st of August to do this, because you're not losing your other place. What happens in adjustment is it's not quite the same as clearing. You have a little look through the clearing list, but you also talk directly to universities. So if there is something that you're really interested in and it is not in the clearing list, then it is perfectly within your right to contact the university and say, this is me, this is how well I did. Would you consider me through the UCAS adjustment system? Now, you might find the answer to that is yes, because a lot of people will be dropping out from the bigger courses, and there is a lot of shaking out that happens after results day over the next couple of weeks. My biggest thing I'll say to people, and it might be a bit controversial, so do come back at me, is I think, again, what we're going to find a lot of this August is people getting their grades, getting their offers, or taking a place in clearing, and then deferring entry because no one is completely confident as to what's going to happen and how courses are going to be delivered this year. You might find that people therefore start dropping out of places now. If that is the case, you're going to find there are more places available too. And universities are businesses. Let's not kid ourselves. They need people there. They need bums on seats. And therefore, you might find adjustment suddenly opens up at a much stronger university. Don't be silly with adjustment. You're never going to get into Oxbridge through adjustment. You're never going to get to Imperial through adjustment. But you might find that there are still some golden nuggets at the top end of the system to have a look at. And just be bold. Be bloody bold and resolute with this. Just give it a go. The worst anyone can do is say no. Try it, but don't find anything. Keep what you want. Betty, it's an unusual year and students may not get the results predicted. What advice would you advise that they take a foundation course or retake the A-level year? I'm going to park that question because I come to it in a moment's time. But I mean, yes, there is some good things to say around that. So ultimately, you didn't get your grades. What now? Don't panic. Best advice anyone can give you is don't panic. It's not a scary day clearing. It's just a bit of a long and slightly tedious day for you. But don't panic. There's going to be a wide number of options available to you. There will be a lot of university options available to you, but there's also going to be other options available too. Just try and think of who you are and what you want in your future. Don't just be in a rush to take the first thing that's getting there. Be proactive, but be sensible with it. And right now, the best thing you can be doing is starting to think of the what if, what next? What if I don't get my offer? Don't just be so confident that you're going to get it and you don't look at anything. The best and the smartest people out there will have a backup plan. Firstly, if you missed your grades by a few marks, your best thing you can do on the day is talk to the university in question. They're not under any obligation to change their mind, okay? But ultimately, you might find that they do listen, particularly this year. Or you may even be offered a place on a different course, but talk to them. Again, you lose nothing by trying to talk to somebody. Alternatively, you just accept the decision and you go straight into the clearing day process and you get on with it. Or better still, do both, okay? Enter into the clearing process and see what you can do whilst trying to actually talk to the university. If you don't try to talk to the university, you're just going to kick yourself in the future about what if. Don't try and talk to the university, though, if you are so far off your offer grades. If you're a little bit out, fine. If you're a long way out, don't bother. Just go straight into the clearing process. You're never going to get through that particular bit unless you have serious extenuating circumstances. You might find that during this day, all you want to do is change your mind. You might want to take a gap year now and consider your options. That's a great idea. You might want to take a break from studying. You might want to actually stop and think, maybe next year I'll reapply for a different course, or maybe next year I'll do some research or something. It's a good idea. Or the other one, and university doesn't make itself available for everyone, and a lot of people nowadays don't even want university. So you might also start looking at the vocational qualifications, and a lot of places in the city as well have also started giving graduate schemes to A-level students. So you might find that there is something else out there too. Lots of options available. We just need to talk you through them. Clearing. This is the clearing list we looked at the very outset, and I asked you to come up with 4 that you could do. And hopefully you all found at least 4 on there. But this is the clearing list from last year. These are the universities that entered in. So you can see there is a lot of places available that have places on a wide variety of courses. Certain courses just won't naturally be in clearing. And you'll generally tend to find that so a lot of the engineering places, the harder ones, won't be in there. Maths is quite difficult to suddenly pick up through clearing. Medicine as well, but medicine has also made a reappearance. But I don't know if you noticed, when looking through the clearing list, the ones highlighted in yellow are all the ones that notionally are part of the Russell Group. The Russell Group is 24 universities, and there are 16 universities from the Russell Group already in clearing. So, I mean, clearing isn't such a disastrous situation. I've also highlighted in blue St George's University and the Royal Veterinary College, because St George's was offering medical places, as was Liverpool last year. The RVC was also offering veterinary courses. So you will find that there are still things that you can do. The clearing process is becoming a happier and happier place than it ever used to be. It's no longer just, forgive me for saying it, the dregs. There's now quite a lot that you can do within there. Again, though, if you're going for the Russell Group, you still actually have to have the grades that they require. It's a good thing that they're there, but you still need to be competitive with that. So there's a lot available, so don't panic. Alina, do directors of studies help students with the clearing process, or is an independent? No, I mean, it is about getting help. If you're an MPW student, certainly our directors of studies, your personal tutors, will be helping you get the advice, helping you do X, Y, and Z. But Tatiana, this also comes to your question in a way. On the day, on clearing day, we're very happy to be ghosts right behind you, telling you what to do and when to do it and all of these, and giving good advice and guidance. But universities will not talk to us so much anymore. GDPR specifically nowadays gives us a massive slap on the wrist if we try and do anything. So, but it is more about the fact that university is an adult world, and they want to hear from you. And if something's gone wrong, they want to hear as to why or what it is that you're now proactively doing. You've got to upsell yourself to a university. And as I say, we're happy to give you a quick bit of coaching before you pick up that phone call, because you do need to talk to the university in a very adult and proactive way. It's not just, do you have a place, can I have one? It's more about the sense that you actually give across to them, but it has to be the student coming forward. We give you the advice, you be the proactive one. What does the process entail? Well, clearing is just essentially universities trying to give away their remaining places. Their businesses, they definitely want to do that. Where can you look? You look on the UCAS website. It's the clearing list. The clearing lists still are, but they used to certainly be published in the national papers, and was the go-to point. Now just do it all through UCAS, and you can do it already. The clearing lists are published already on the actual UCAS website. So you can start going through. If you want to be the proactive person now, start coming up with some options, start getting some numbers ready so you know which number to dial. Clearing's available. It's available already because the IB results and the Scottish results are already out. It's been available since the 6th of July and it will run to the 20th of October. It doesn't mean you're behind in the system. Most universities aren't offering out places really at the moment. They rather hold the IB students, unless you're an exceptional one, they hold you until the A-level results as well, and then they kind of consider everyone at the same point. So on results day, everything is still available. You're not behind the rest of the world, and you can apply for a course through clearing. if you're not already holding an offer. Really key distinction here. If you get your offer, you're going to university. In order to enter into clearing and change your course, you have to dump, dismiss, leave behind your other course that you already have accepted. Okay, you can't enter into clearing without doing that first. Clearing really is there for those who don't have places, or for students who applied after the 30th of June, or for those who didn't receive offers, or for those who didn't meet their offer conditions. That's who clearing is there for. Everyone else, if you've been given an offer already and it's now been turned to unconditional, you are going to have to contact the university directly and explain that you no longer want your place on their course, and then enter into clearing after that, which is going to mean the day is a bit longer for you and you will be starting from behind the back foot. So my advice to you is, if you now know that you don't want to go to that university and you will want to look into the clearing process, then get out now and be ready for clearing on the day. Don't make that decision on the day itself, okay? Because if you are, I question your actual rationale behind it, because if you know already, you just want to get out and get on with things, okay? Then we've got this thing, Clearing Plus, which is the new system for 2020. It's the innovation here. And it's UCAS trying to be helpful. It's UCAS, they've always had this in the planning. It's just come to the fore in this particular year. It's for those students who do not meet their firm or insurance offers. What the system, the algorithm is going to do naturally is to make suggestions personally matched to each individual student from what they know from their application, etc., to give students other options that they could be looking at if they did not get their place. So it's already clearing done for you in a way, or at least someone, if you don't have a director of studies or a ghost behind you, you've got UCAS behind you making suggestions. Take it with a bit of a pinch of salt. In some ways, it's going to be really helpful because it is going to try and match things up. In another way, it's a computer system trying to make, one, recommendations to you, and two, there's a business perspective behind this, which is they're also trying to suggest universities forward that really do need a bit of an injection of students in there. So you don't have to take any of these, but they will certainly give you quite a lot of options, and they will rank them for you, and they will show whether you're an acceptable candidate for that. So Clearing Plus is going to be the new system for this particular year, and students should really try and make use of that if possible, because it's a good thing. It's a nice thing that someone's actually engaging with them a little bit more. If a student wants to apply for something different than is on the list of the matches, absolutely fine. Nothing is stopping you there. This is simply just a search tool, as it were. You're not wedded to what UCAS says. It's a big difference, and sorry just to bang on about this one, but the big difference here is when we talked about the UCC before, the UCC, the unconditional change of course, is when a university specifically gives you a different offer and the expectation on you taking it is a little higher. If it's the Clearing Plus system, it's UCAS generally giving you a list of other universities to look at, and you are not wedded to any of those. You're not beholden to have to take any of those offers. It's just a suggestion. So on results day, when you're entering into clearing, make sure that you have your clearing number available. This is going to be automatically generated by UCAS. You'll find it on the track page. If you've been unsuccessful in meeting your grade offers, it'll appear nice and boldly in front of you. Have that ready, because when you get through to someone on the clearings hotlines, you'll want to make sure that you're able to speak to them. Look at the vacancies. You don't have to stick to your original degree. You now might want to move on to something else. That's quite a wise thing to do too, because it's another backdoor route into a slightly higher university. If there is something that you're generally interested in, please, as I say, don't try and go into the university if it's on a course that you're never going to be interested in, because the dropout rate is so high from the first year still. There's no point. You'll just find yourself on the back foot when you reapply the following year. Be available on results day. Don't just be burying your head in the sand or sitting on a beach or just trying to ignore the day. Be available. Be ready to speak to universities, because you might get called back later to have a chat with an admissions tutor. Have your results available and have some questions ready to ask them as well. And this is why we encourage you to have a look at the clearings list.
You can come up with some general questions here in terms of what sort of things on the particular course will I be able to study? Will there be research opportunities? If you know you want to apply for ancient history, you could be asking, will I be able to study a module on ancient Mesopotamia, or whatever it might be. Just have some general questions ready that you can throw at the university, because then you're going to be much more appealing to them than just someone who says, can I have a place? So have some questions nice and ready. Use the Clearing Plus as part of it. It's going to save you a little bit of time. UCAS generally gives excellent advice, but at the same time, you've got to remember that it is a centralized system. It is a clearinghouse. It is not there really to help you decide your future. It is there as a business platform as well. So really keep your wits about you during the clearing process. I just want to quickly come off this share and come on to something slightly different that will give you a bit of an instructional look at it. Hopefully that's moved across to this here. So what you do, you go onto the UCAS website, www.ucas.com, and apply through clearing from there. You'll look at all the clearing lists, if you can see. I don't suppose you can tell me if Betty, are you there? Has it moved on to the PDF version or not?
There's a slight delay on me.
Well, hopefully it's there now because it's come up on something else. So look, if you're applying through clearing, you go onto the website, you have a look, just type in the course that you're looking to do. It will give you a list, of course, of all the different universities that you'll want to go for and study. This is the document we provide for all of our students here. You'll be able to then see, so look at this, Aberystwyth University, and then has a few, and rather regrettably, this is a maths example, even though I said maths is quite difficult to find, but it's accounting, mathematics, and all that. Anyway, these are all the courses available at Aberystwyth University. Next to that, you will find their clearing contact details, okay? Don't bother emailing them. Pick up the phone, and you'll get a quicker answer. Don't be afraid to pick up the phone because you're just talking to a student in the first instance. So once you've found the vacancy of interest, the number and contact details will be on the website, so you just take them off there and you call directly. What UCAS gives you is a brief overview. Okay. Still at this stage, you will be able to do your research on the university later. Call first. Before you do it, look at this bit here a second, 7.1, 0.2, 0.3, and 0.4. Prepare some questions. Talk about the accommodation. Is there such things still available, or are you going to be living a long way? If you go for someone like Exeter or Durham, be slightly aware as well that while they enter into clearing, you'll find that they have campuses a long way away from the main campus itself. So, for example, the Exeter one, they have a Cornwall campus as well, which is very different and quite far away. So whilst you are at the University of Exeter, you'll be in a completely different place. Is that what you want? So make sure you ask questions on accommodation, the assessment structure, that's a good one, or will you want qualifications sent through? Just be very proactive, very business-like in your approach to it, okay? Maybe give a little bit of a pitch as to why you're interested in the course. So again, a good thing you can be doing now is honing your elevator pitch, that 30-second pitch as to why you really want to study this course, why you are matched to it. And other than the fact that COVID is probably the thing that's kicked you down this year, if there are any other reasons as to why you felt you did not get the grades, just briefly highlight them. Don't talk about COVID because everyone's going to know about it. But if there are other reasons that you feel are worthy of mention, also have something prepared there. Have your A-level and GCSE grades to hand so that you can just give them because they just type them into the system, and have your clearing number available as well. Once you've done all of these and you've spoken to a university and you've been given an offer, you go back onto UCAS Track, and it will now give you the option to add a clearing choice. You then go on, you add the choice. This will be available from 3 p.m. on Thursday itself. So you'll then go on there and add in the course, so the university, the course, the campus, and all these details that it requires you to do there. It's available from 3 p.m. for you, but don't delay on phoning universities. Do that earlier in the day. And you can't add a clearing choice unless you've been told you can by the university itself. They will give you a specific nudge as to how to do it. They used to give you a number. Now they will just tell you whether or not you will be eligible to do this. If you don't do it and you go into their system, you'll just be kicked back out again later because you haven't got what they require. You need to talk to the university first. Once you've done that, your decision, the university's decision will be loaded into Track, and the clearing choice will now be a clearing accept on there, and you'll then be going into the university. From that stage, again, be proactive because you're now going to have to get on with choosing your accommodation as well. Okay, choosing accommodation is an important thing. It's an important part of your actual university experience. So do make sure that you are doing that. Does it matter where you go? Well, it does, really. I mean, at the end of the day, it is about you being proud in yourself. There are fantastic universities out there, and there's universities for everyone, and there's a lot of those universities for everyone in clearing. You can look at any endless stats or league tables and all of that, and everyone will show you slightly where you go or where you could go from there and employment prospects. My general advice to you on all of this is just the higher up you get on the university ladder and the better you do on your degree, on a degree that you're going to enjoy doing, not that you're just taking, the better it will be the other side. And that's when it becomes how you market yourself in life. If it's just about going to university, either at a lower university or indeed at a university, someone else has started sharing. That's very kind of you. Although I might need you to just stop doing that for a second. Either at the university you're not going to enjoy, or at a university that is a lower ranked university, then ultimately it's not going to be quite what you want in the future. So I'm just going to take back control there, I'm afraid. And then the last bit to say, just before we just rounded off with questions, is you don't just have the option of going through clearing. Again, it's not a pitch, but the college worlds really do open themselves up at this point, and it is where you really find that they made their names in the first place. It's what you do the other side. Now, resits, are they going to be autumn exams this year? Possibly. That remarkably is still not crystal clear from the exam boards themselves, or rather than the exam boards, the government as much as anything. We know that there is likely to be one. We don't know chapter and verse on it yet, although it is becoming clearer. Is it a good idea to do? I would say it comes with a huge health warning, because you are trying to now do something that you weren't prepared for in a short space of time in order to just get through. So the emphasis goes on to the student to work phenomenally hard between now and the exam itself. It's certainly very possible to do, but when teaching properly stopped for the majority of schools in March, and albeit was serviced a little bit with online tuition, there was a lot that was missed. And therefore, are people going to be ready for what will be quite a ruthless November sitting or an autumn sitting, because it will have to be, remains in question. Brighter students, certainly, it wouldn't be for anyone lower than a B on an expectation. And really, it shouldn't be for anyone lower than an A on an expectation if they're really trying to pitch for that top. Much better either electing to do the old January to June resit course, where it gives us a little bit longer to feed in some information for you to do in advance and then try and deliver it over a longer period of time from the January to June. Or better still, 1 year A-levels will be much more widely considered this year, because it, again, two things to say. One is that it matters how the university view you. And two, if most students jump ship this year and decide to defer their entry to the following year, universities aren't going to have so many places available. And they're more likely to offer out those places to people who are showing themselves to be properly trying to readdress their grades over a longer period of time than those who try and whip through it. We still exist in a predicted grade system. So it's about the university having confidence in the timescale that you're looking to do it. So 1 year A-level courses are going to be a good option. And anyone looking at clearing, we would always be saying, look at your clearing options. We do this every year. Look at them, consider them, balance them against what you could get if you did well on a resit course, and then see what you want. It's your life at the end of the day. We are just here to guide. The other ones, and Betty, coming to your question, full circle here, is the foundation courses. Now, you could do a university foundation program, of which some will be available in the actual university clearing process. Good courses, majority of them will be taken up quite quickly, but they are good courses there, and they are often leading on to 4 year courses. What I would always highlight for a university foundation course, though, is that the emphasis is on you. It's not a natural progression into the first year of the course after that. You still have to hit a high level from that first year, or the level that they set, which is, generally about 60 to 75%, which in the university world is quite competitive, before you can matriculate on. But you're left on your own to do it. You are still treated as a university student, albeit at a stage too early to be there. That's why you haven't naturally gone on to the 3-year course. And you might be just doing that at a university you don't want to go to. The other type of foundation course, and I'm not dismissing the university ones at all, because as I say, they are good programs. But the other type of foundation course are the ones then that are run through external providers. You might have the International Foundation Course program, which is run through the University of London, or the NC UK program as well, even the MPW Foundation program. There's a wide variety of available, and other providers too. But the one thing I would always note for these is that you are going to be given the same level of help that you would be if you were an A-level student, than you would be if you're a university student, i.e. you get more tuition, you get more guidance, you're in smaller group sizes, and you're also given the same UCAS advice to see whether there is another option available for you the other side. So the real key and the real takeaway message from this year specifically is there will be a lot of options. It is not a buyer's market in the way that we once thought it would be. It still seems to be a seller's market. There's likely to be quite a lot of universities available to you out there. Tatiana, students are the people who need to be talking to them. They will happily try and engage universities with people who try and help, but it will be to a point. Schools should still be giving expert advice and be ready on hand on the day. We certainly will be if students need any help to go on to these sorts of courses from there. There will be a lot available, but just don't rush, don't panic, don't take the first thing. Think of where you want to be in the future. And one last real key point is think of what your CV is going to look like. If you've got your grades, fantastic, round of applause, and off you go to do well. If you come out with grades that you do not feel reflect you, whether it's your fault or the COVID situation, think about what you want your CV to read in the future. Yes, you could go to a university and it could be okay. But if your grades are reading BBC or something like that, and you want to go into the city in the future or something, in your first level of going into the working world, your CV will be scrutinized. And therefore, you'll be up against people who have AAA, A-star AA, been to the same universities, done whatever. It's however you can bring down an applicant pile. So find out if you really feel those grades are reflective of you, fantastic, take what offers available. If you think you could have done better, take your time. Yes, it will be a busier world next year. Yes, it's more than likely there will be fewer places, but we can't guarantee that. But ultimately, if you've got the grades, you will still go to university next year and you'll have a stronger CV that goes with it. So what can you do now? Just get your strategy in place. Go onto the UCAS website, start going through the clearing list and see what might be available if you need it on the day. Get some numbers ready for you so you can always call the universities when you're ready to do so. And then on the day, if you require it, I'm very sorry about that, but off you go. If you do need any help, whether you're an MPW student or an external provider or whatever it is, I'll be more than happy to help, guide, advise, as quite a lot of us will be at this particular time. But clearing isn't rocket science. It's just a bit of a tedious, long-winded day, but it can yield some fantastic results as well. You've got clearing plus this year that students should make use of. Adjustment, if you feel bold, be bloody bold and resolute, because you might get through on something there. And if not, so be it. You've got another year doing something different, possibly more exciting and maybe more beneficial the following year after that. But hopefully that was a whistle-stop, rather in-depth answer to any questions. But if you do have any questions, fire away. Or maybe no questions at all. Did I baffle you all with too many stats? Andy, I've got something from you on there, which I I've only just seen, so I will do that. In light of the IB controversy, do you think one-year A-level retakes are only suitable for IB students who study the same or similar subjects at higher level, or you think standard level is okay? Look, I mean, generally we find that IB students coming over to A-level are quite well prepared, because the IB teaches you more about thinking around the subject. The trick when you come across to A-levels is getting you to be now more specific to the answers you're given. I mean, as we said, the A-level system benefits you if you know how to pass it. We don't like to move people too far away from what they're comfortable with or have done before when we put people onto one-year A-levels, i.e., yes is the answer to your question. From a higher level perspective, move them straight from IB higher level onto the one-year A-level, and you'll find that they cope absolutely fine. You could vary it a little bit with maybe one out of the three subjects where you do something new and exciting and different for that, if it makes sense to what they want to do in the future. Standard level is not equivalent to the A-level at all, so there will be a bit more of a gap. So we wouldn't want 3 standard level subjects coming over into the 3 A-level subjects, for example. You're better off matching higher level subjects across. And we are finding, actually, because of this situation this year, I've done an awful lot of interviews of late of people who have come from the IB system, coming across the A-level, wondering what it will be like in order to do so, and just trying to give as much reassurance to them as possible. But there's a lot of people migrating now from IB to one-year A-levels rather than to university, because the grades on the IB were so much lower. Does that answer your question, Andy? Tatiana, a random question. Love random questions. Would switching from the IB to one-year A-level be considered as a resit? Could it be the way to trick the system? It's an excellent question, actually, as well as random. Look, yes, you are in some ways considered to be a applicant on the whole thing, but you're not resitting. So yes, it is a technicality and it is a quirk, and it is what we will be using as the narrative in the UCAS reapplications this year, where we're saying, look, the IB system wasn't set up to go into lockdown. We all know that, therefore this isn't a reapplicant, this isn't a resit student, this is someone who is, sorry, it is a reapplicant, it's not a resit student, this is just someone who's giving it a go. So I agree with you entirely. That is the quirk and the narrative that we are going to be using this year. And I love the way you think, because it is all about the twists and turns and the back doors into how you actually explain things in this system. But you're not a standard resit student at all. We used to find this with the pre-U students who came across to A-level. We always talked about them as reapplicants, not resit applicants, and they always used to go to university in droves after that. So it's exactly the way we'll be looking at it. Any other questions at all? No, there we are. So Betty, I think I'm passing back to you.
Yes. So we don't have any more questions. Just James, to confirm, so next week you will be available all next week at the college?
Absolutely.
If anybody does have any questions, or students that are, looking for alternative options, we are here to help and to support.
Quite good.
So if there are no other questions, thank you all so much for joining us this morning. Please do stay safe. If there is anything you do need, any questions, please email international@mpw.ac.uk. This has been recorded and we will send it on to you later today. Thank you so much. Thank you, James.
Have a wonderful day.
Thanks. Bye.
Cheerio. Bye-bye.